The metal screamed as Cormac welded another panel, and Jainara wondered if all humans were quietly insane. The sound echoed through Brackwell Station's cargo bay, sharp and grating against her auditory membranes. She stood at the entrance, watching him work in the dim light, sparks cascading across his bare forearms like tiny stars dying. The temperature read 28 degrees standard, comfortable for her species, acceptable for most station inhabitants. He was building something that would make it colder. Jainara's skin prickled with unease. The Sithani had evolved on Sith Prime, where dual suns painted the sky in shades of amber, and the warmth soaked into your bones like a blessing. Temperature variation meant death. A 5-degree drop could send their metabolisms into shock. 10 degrees could stop a heart. Humans, she'd learned, found that normal. She stepped closer, her footfalls silent on the deck plating. Cormac didn't look up, too focused on whatever madness he was constructing. The frame stood taller than him now, metal struts forming a cube roughly 3 meters on each side. Cooling coils snaked along the interior, connected to what appeared to be a refitted climate control unit he'd scavenged from maintenance. "What are you building?" He startled, torch flickering as he looked up. Sweat gleamed on his forehead, plastering dark hair to his temples. His eyes were that particular shade of gray that reminded her of storms on the view screens, dynamic and alive. Temperature chamber. His voice carried that rough quality humans got when they'd been working without water. Figured I'd try to make winter. The translation matrix struggled with the word, her head tilted, skin shifting through concerned orange patterns. Winter, a season. He set the torch down, wiping his hands on already stained work pants. Back on Earth, the temperature drops. Sometimes by 40, 50 degrees, everything freezes. Water becomes solid, falls from the sky in these tiny geometric patterns. She stared at him. "That would kill you." "Nah." He grinned, and something in her chest did an uncomfortable flutter. "Makes you feel alive." Jainara had been assigned to work with Cormac for 6 months now. A joint research initiative between the Sithani Collective and the Terran Union, studying compatible propulsion systems. The work was straightforward. The human was not. He approached problems like a controlled demolition, tearing apart established theory to rebuild it better, faster, more efficient. He questioned everything, including safety protocols that most species considered sacred. And he smiled while doing it, like the universe was an elaborate joke he was just beginning to understand. She found it terrifying. She found it fascinating. On the 12th rotation of their assignment, Jainara made the mistake of asking about Earth. They sat in the station's common area, sharing a meal. Or rather, she ate while he picked at something that smelled of char and spices that made her sinuses burn. The view screen displayed a rotating star chart, but Cormac wasn't looking at it. His eyes had that distant quality she'd learned meant he was thinking about home. "Tell me about your world." He glanced at her, surprise flickering across his features. "Most people don't ask. I want to know." The words came out softer than intended. "Your species is different. I don't understand what made you this way." A laugh, short and sharp. "Took us a few thousand years to figure that out ourselves." He leaned back, the chair creaking under his weight. His frame was heavier than hers, denser bone and muscle packed into a similar height. When they worked in close quarters, she could feel the heat radiating from him like a personal sun. "Earth's got more gravity than most habitable worlds," he began. "More radiation, more geological activity. Our weather systems are violent, storms that can level cities, waves taller than buildings, winds that peel the skin off mountains. We've got predators that hunt in packs, venom that drops you in seconds, parasites that eat you from the inside out." Jainara's skin paled to alarmed white. "And your species survived, thrived." His grin turned sharp. "We learned to run faster, think quicker, cooperate better. We became the thing that scared the monsters." The revelation sat heavy in her chest. She'd read the reports, seen the biological assessments. Humans were classified as Type-7 Deathworld survivors, a rating that made most species uncomfortable at close quarters. But hearing it from him, seeing the pride in his expression, added layers of complexity she hadn't expected. "Do you miss it?" Something shifted in his eyes. "Every day." The cooling unit took shape over the next several rotations. Jainara found herself drifting to the cargo bay during her rest periods, watching Cormac work. He moved with practiced efficiency, hands steady as he connected power conduits and calibrated thermal regulators. She should have been uncomfortable. The temperature around his construction site had already dropped by 3 degrees, enough to make her skin prickle with warning patterns. But she stayed, he explained as he worked, voice carrying that particular enthusiasm humans got when discussing something they loved. "Snow's not just water," he said, adjusting a coolant line. "It's got structure. Each flake is unique, these perfect geometric patterns based on temperature and humidity. When you're standing in a snowstorm, you're surrounded by billions of tiny individual sculptures, all falling at once. That sounds beautiful." "It is," he paused, staring at his creation with something approaching reverence. "And when the sun hits fresh snow, it glitters. Like the whole world's been coated in ground diamonds." Her chest tightened. The way he described it, not as a threat but as something precious, revealed depths she hadn't anticipated. Humans didn't just survive their world, they loved it. "You want to recreate this because you miss it." His hands stilled. "Yeah. Got tired of everything being comfortable." She didn't have a response to that. Comfort was the foundation of Sithani civilization. Stable temperatures, consistent resources, predictable cycles. The idea that someone would find that lacking seemed fundamentally alien. But watching Cormac's expression as he worked, she began to understand. He didn't want safety. He wanted to feel. The first test came on rotation 37. Jainara arrived at the cargo bay to find the cooling unit humming, frost already forming on the interior walls. Cormac stood outside it, wearing what he called winter gear, multiple layers of insulated fabric that made his frame even bulkier. His breath misted in the air. Ready, his eyes practically glowed with anticipation. For what? To see if it works. He stepped inside, and she watched through the transparent panel as the temperature plummeted. Readouts displayed numbers that made her skin flash warning orange: 15 degrees, 10, 5, 0. Cormac stood in the center of his artificial winter, arms spread, head tilted back, and he laughed. Not the polite social sound humans used in conversation, but something raw and joyful, like he'd found a piece of himself he'd thought lost forever. Jainara's fingers pressed against the panel, feeling the cold leaching through. She didn't understand, couldn't comprehend how pain could translate to pleasure, how something that would kill her species could make him look so alive. But she wanted to. "Come here." His voice crackled through the comm system. She shook her head, skin cycling through alarmed patterns. "It's too cold. It would hurt me. I know." His eyes met hers through the panel. "But I want you to feel it. Just for a second, just to understand." Her survival instincts screamed warnings. Her species didn't take risks, not with temperature, not with unfamiliar environments, not with anything that could disrupt the careful balance they'd built. But Cormac stood in impossible cold, looking at her like she was something worth sharing his world with. She approached the door. The seal broke with a hiss, and frigid air rolled out like a living thing. Jainara's skin went white, then blue, chromophores shifting in distress. Her breathing quickened. Every nerve ending demanded she retreat. Cormac's hand extended through the doorway. "Trust me." She took it. His fingers were warm, impossibly so against the cold. He pulled her inside, just across the threshold, and the temperature differential hit like physical force. Her skin erupted in patterns she'd never made before, shock white laced with fear blue and something else she couldn't name. It hurt. Stars, it hurt. Like her body was being pressed into shapes it wasn't designed for, every molecule crying out against the unnatural environment. But Cormac's hand stayed steady in hers. "Look up," he said softly. She did. The cooling unit's atmospheric processors had created condensation, tiny ice particles suspended in the air, catching the light from the station beyond. They fell slowly in the reduced convection, drifting like the snow he'd described. It was beautiful. Her free hand extended, trembling, and caught one of the ice particles. It melted instantly against her skin, warmer even in distress than the air around them. But for a heartbeat, she held winter in her palm. "This is what you miss," her voice shook. "This pain, it's not pain when you're built for it." His thumb stroked across her knuckles, and even through her environmental distress, she felt it. It's challenge. It's being pushed to your limits and discovering you're stronger than you thought. It's earning the warmth when you come back inside. She looked at him, really looked, and understood. Humans weren't just survivors of a death world. They were shaped by it, craved it, found meaning in the struggle itself. Comfort wasn't a goal, it was boredom. I need to leave now. He pulled her out immediately, the warm air of the station hitting like an embrace. Her skin slowly cycled back through alarmed blue toward normal amber, chromophores settling as her body temperature stabilized. But she didn't let go of his hand. The research continued. Their reports noted advances in thermal regulation systems, improved efficiency in climate adaptation protocols. What they didn't include was how Jainara started arriving at the cargo bay earlier, leaving later. Or how Cormac explained Earth weather patterns with his hands, sketching storms in the air between them. Or how she'd caught herself staring at the way frost formed in his hair when he stayed in the cooling unit too long. On rotation 52, she brought him something. A thermal blanket, she explained, holding out the folded fabric. From Sith Prime, we use them during the night cycle when the suns set. Both suns set, his eyebrows rose. What's the temperature drop? 0.5 degree. She caught his expression and her skin flushed embarrassed orange. I know. It's not the same as your winter, but I thought, maybe you'd like something from someone else's world. He took the blanket, fingers brushing hers, and something passed between them that had nothing to do with temperature. Thank you. They were standing too close. The cargo bay's ambient temperature had been dropping steadily as Cormac ran more tests, 25 degrees now, cool enough that her skin showed perpetual orange concern, but not dangerous. Cold enough that his proximity felt like a heat source she wanted to move toward. His breath misted slightly. Jainara, the comm system crackled. Station alert. Coolant leak in Section 7. All personnel report. Cormac swore under his breath, the first time she'd heard him use what she recognized as human profanity. We should go, but neither of them moved. Her hand came up, trembling, and touched his face. His skin was warm, so warm against her perpetually cool fingers. She felt his pulse jump under her touch, watched his pupils dilate. Your species bonds differently than mine, she said quietly. We don't. This isn't something Sithani do outside of formal pairing contracts. I know, but I think about you. She forced the words out, skin cycling through patterns of vulnerability she rarely showed. I think about what it would feel like if you touched me, if I could make you feel like your winter does. The comm crackled again, more urgent. They ignored it. Cormac's hand came up to cover hers, pressing her palm more firmly against his jaw. His other hand settled on her waist, careful, questioning. I dream about you. His voice had gone rough. About this. But I didn't think I didn't either. Her skin shifted to something darker, more complex. Amber threaded with the deep blue that meant want. You make me want to be brave enough to feel cold. He kissed her. Or she kissed him. Later, she wouldn't remember who moved first, only that suddenly they were pressed together, his warmth sinking into her like standing in sunlight, her cool skin making him gasp against her mouth. It was nothing like Sithani intimacy, all pressure and heat, and the scratch of his jaw, and the way his hands mapped her back like he was trying to memorize the pattern of her skin. She made a sound that wasn't quite Sithani, wasn't quite human, something raw and real. The comm screamed for attention. They broke apart, breathing hard. We need to respond, he said, but his hands didn't leave her waist. Yes. Neither of them moved. Then his forehead pressed against hers, and they stood there, breathing each other's air, while the station demanded their attention, and the cooling unit hummed its artificial winter behind them. Section 7's coolant leak turned out to be minor, a seal failure, easily repaired. But it kept them busy through 3 full rotations, running diagnostics and filing reports, and pretending that everything was professional. Jainara felt the weight of what had happened settle into her bones. Sithani didn't engage in casual physical intimacy. Touch outside of family units was rare, kiss-similar behaviors reserved for formal bonding contracts filed in triplicate. She'd kissed a human in a cargo bay and wanted to do it again. Her work suffered. She caught herself staring at his hands during equipment calibrations, remembering how they'd felt against her skin. His voice in her ear during comm checks made her skin flash involuntary patterns she had to suppress before others noticed. And Cormac, usually confident to the point of recklessness, kept looking at her like he was afraid she'd disappear. On rotation 56, he found her in the observation deck during night cycle. "Can't sleep?" he asked, settling beside her. The viewport displayed Brackwell Station's position at the edge of the Cordell system, stars scattered like someone had thrown diamonds across black silk. Jainara's reflection in the glass showed tired orange patterns. "I keep thinking about the cold," she admitted, "how it felt, how you look standing in it." He was quiet for a moment. "Then, I built it because I missed home. But now when I'm in there, I think about you watching." That sent warmth through her chest that had nothing to do with biology. "I don't understand humans. You seek out pain, danger, discomfort. My species has spent thousands of years eliminating those things from our existence." "And how do you feel?" No judgment in his voice, just curiosity. "Safe." She paused, bored. His laugh was soft. "Humans get bored easily. We need challenge, risk, something to fight against. Not because we're violent, but because we're built to overcome." "Is that why you kissed me?" Her skin shifted, nervous. "Because I'm a challenge?" "No." He turned to face her fully, and the starlight caught in his eyes. "I kissed you because being near you makes me feel like I'm standing in winter sun. Cold and warm at the same time, all my senses sharpened, everything more real." Her breath caught. "I kissed you," he continued, "because you were brave enough to feel cold even though it hurt. Because you wanted to understand my world badly enough to risk yours. Because when I talk about Earth, you listen like it matters." "It does matter." His hand found hers in the darkness between them. "Then what do we do about this?" Jainara looked at their joined hands, her copper-toned skin against his deeper tan, temperature differential tangible where they touched. Sithani protocol demanded formal relationship negotiations, committee approvals, biological compatibility assessments. She squeezed his fingers. "I don't know, but I don't want to stop." The cooling unit became their space. Between shifts, after mandatory rest periods, they'd meet there. Sometimes Cormac would go inside, and she'd watch him move through his artificial winter. Sometimes they'd both stay outside, sitting against the warm exterior wall, talking about worlds they'd never share. He told her about mountains that scraped the sky, oceans deep enough to swallow stations whole, deserts where the temperature swung 50 degrees between day and night. She told him about the endless summer, Sith Prime's 6-month day when both suns hung in the sky, and the festival of warmth where her people danced in reflecting pools. And sometimes they didn't talk at all. He'd pull her close, careful of her temperature needs, and they'd exist in comfortable silence while the station hummed around them. On rotation 73, everything changed. Jainara arrived at the cargo bay to find Cormac pacing, tablet in hand, expression unreadable. "What happened?" "Transfer orders." His voice was flat. "Command approved my rotation back to Earth, 3 months early." Her skin went white. "When?" 15 days. The number sat between them like something physical. 15 rotations, 360 hours. Not enough time, not nearly enough. "Oh." He crossed the space between them in 3 steps, hands cupping her face with desperate gentleness. "I don't want to go." "Then don't. You know I can't." His forehead pressed against hers, that intimate gesture they'd developed. "Earth regulations, contract obligations, the fact that I've been gone for 2 years, and my family probably thinks I'm dead." She knew he was right, didn't make it hurt less. "Come with me." The words shocked them both. Cormac pulled back, eyes wide. "What? Come to Earth?" Her skin cycled through a dozen patterns: fear, hope, determination. "I know it would be difficult. I know the temperature would be dangerous, that I'd need environmental suits and medical supervision, and probably a dozen approvals from both our governments. But I want to see your winter, the real one. The mountains and snow and storms." "Jainara," his voice cracked, "it could kill you. You said the cold makes you feel alive." Her hands covered his. "Maybe that's what I need. To feel something bigger than safe." He kissed her then, deep and claiming, and she tasted salt on his lips, those water secretions humans produced when emotions overwhelmed them. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, he kept his eyes closed. "If you come, I'm keeping you." His voice was rough. "No trial visits, no short-term assignments. You show up in my world, you become part of it." Her skin flashed vibrant amber shot through with deep blue. "Promise." On rotation 88, Jainara stood in the docking bay, wearing a custom environmental suit rated for temperatures that would have terrified her 6 months ago. Her family had sent 7 increasingly frantic messages. The Sithani Collective had demanded she reconsider. Her friends called it madness. Cormac stood beside her, carrying both their packs. "Last chance to back out," he said quietly. "No shame in choosing safety." She looked at him, this human who'd built winter in a cargo bay, who kissed like gravity was optional, who looked at her like she was worth risking everything for. Her skin settled into steady, determined copper. "Show me the snow." His grin could have lit the station. "Let's go home." The transport engaged with a shudder. Through the viewport, Brackwell Station grew smaller, then vanished into the vast darkness. Ahead, somewhere in that sea of stars, Earth waited. Jainara felt cold air circulation hum through her suit, keeping her stable, and Cormac's hand warm in hers. She didn't know if she'd survive a Deathworld's winter. Didn't know if human and Sithani biology could bridge the gap long-term. Didn't know anything except that she'd rather freeze trying than spend the rest of her life wondering what snow felt like against her skin. "Scared?" Cormac asked. She looked at him and smiled. "Terrified. Good." He squeezed her hand. "That means you're alive."